Hello, and welcome to week 6. This is where we wrap it up and bring it all together. So, the first thing we want to talk about is our challenges and our successes. And we really would like for you to give us some feedback on healthy. Let us know what worked really well for you, what your successes were on the Back to Basics Mediterranean Diet Program. And please also let us know what you found challenging. And let us know what we could have done to better support you through those challenging times. We really want your feedback. We take it to heart, and our goal is just to improve every program as we roll it out in the future. So don't be shy. Please take a moment. We really appreciate it, and let us know your thoughts, and especially what we could have done differently or how we could have supported you better through the process. Then we are going to do a quick goal sheet review. We're going to take a look at our BMR worksheets. That was the worksheet we did on the first night where we calculated our caloric intake. Then we're going to summarize each week of the program, and I'll give you a little bit of information on what's up next. So, how many of you completed the vision worksheet or goal setting worksheet? And this was the one from week 1 where you went online and you could direct enter your answers. If you didn't complete it, that's okay. I would ask you to go back into the system and give it a shot later on. There's a lot of benefit to completing this form because it really helps you dig underneath your surface goals. So, for example, your goal may be to lose weight, but it's even more powerful to understand what's driving that weight loss goal. It's not as simple as we think. There's always things underneath it driving our weight loss goal or whatever goal. You know, it could be to get more confidence, ultimately to be more successful at work, whatever. But it's good to dig underneath those surface goals and find out what's really there. And then once you're able to identify what's underneath that surface goal, this is what we call the big motivating factor. And this big motivating factor is what helps or supports you in the process. Something that's so important to you that you want to be aligned with, that's how you want to be. So we also utilize this sheet then to support the process by having you identify ongoing reminders of why you're taking the action toward your goals. So this could simply be a visual cue, some kind of music you like, but we call it out as cues, and that becomes your daily reminder of what you're doing, why you're doing, and why you're doing it. So the BMR worksheet. The BMR, that was that crazy mathematic worksheet that we did when we first met on night 1. You should also find a paper copy in your folders if you just want to run through it. Now, we want you to recalculate your BMR, and for a lot of you, it may not have shifted that much in 6 weeks. But if you did lose weight, say you lost 10 pounds or more, it might be worth your time just going through it and seeing what your daily caloric needs come out at right now. Also, if you started working out more or simply working out where you had been, that's going to make a difference too. So you may find that your calorie needs have actually gone up in that case. Or if you've lost weight, your calorie needs per day may have gone down. And then with that, you're going to reset your protein baseline, which should be pretty close. But again, it could move up or down depending if you've lost weight and or adapted a workout program. So these caloric needs are good to know. And again, we don't recommend calorie counting, but it's good background information to have just in case you do hit a plateau. It allows for quicker troubleshooting when we know what your BMR or your baseline caloric intake should be. So you were given a pretty comprehensive food list, and you could see from that the Mediterranean diet was not restrictive and allowed for many food choices. This chart is nice because it gives a basic outline for food groups allowed. If you stick to this, you will be eating from the food list, guaranteed. So, just to review, on the left hand column, we find all the things that we want to replace when we're doing the Mediterranean diet. For example, in row one, refined grains, baked goods, and desserts. We want to replace those with, we recommend gluten free grains, a little different from the traditional Mediterranean diet, fruit and starchy vegetables. Now we moderate this middle column intake. And then on the right hand side, the right column, these are the foods that we freely embrace: non starchy vegetables, berries, which are low glycemic, fermented vegetables. And you can see as we move down into fats, we want to fill our days with avocados, olive oil, omega-3 rich fatty fish, and a little bit of coconut. Also, fish, eggs, poultry, lentils, and beans make great protein sources. However, we can take in grass-fed, grass-finished red meat and some organic dairy. That is absolutely allowed. It's nutrient dense in terms of what it offers us. It's just be careful with the dairy in case you have a little sensitivity, but perfectly acceptable in the Mediterranean diet. The next week, this was week 2, we talked about mindful eating. So we want to put our bodies in a state that allows us to properly digest and assimilate what we're taking in. And I know a lot of us, when we eat, we may be eating at our desk at work to save time, or we're driving down the interstates, doing what's called dashboard dining, or we've got the TV on, and on and on and on. So we want to be mindful of the environment in which we eat our food, and then how we are connected to that meal. And this directly affects, again, our ability to digest, assimilate, and process the nutrients that the food has, as much as the quality and type of food itself. So if you're distracted while you're eating, you're never going to be able to optimize your food choices and how your body receives it. So we could have the best, most nutritious food on our plates, and if we're eating in a stressed environment, if we're just gulping down our food, not chewing it thoroughly, we're not breaking it down properly, and we're not going to get the full benefit. We're not going to be able to pull the optimal nutrition out of that food. When we get connected to our meal, when we really are paying attention to what's on our plate, and we can be thankful for that food and honor that food and think about where it comes from, eating becomes an experience of gratitude and actually self-care and fulfillment. Everything tastes better when we're paying attention to it and when we're thankful for the food. And we realize that how we're eating, what we choose to eat and put in our bodies, is actually a form of self-care and self-love. So there's a lot to take away from mindful eating. And again, with mindful eating, pay attention to our cravings. Do we have a pattern of behavior around a certain food item? For example, I know some people like to sit down with a bag of crunchy chips and watch their favorite TV show in the evening. So what we're recommending here is to simply switch it up. If you like crunchy can be satisfied with nuts, celery, and hummus. Salty can be satisfied again with nuts, olives, and pickles. So it's okay to have that little nighttime snack if that brings you joy while you're watching your favorite show, but always prepare a small dish or plate with a controlled amount of the snack and put the big container that it comes from away, and bring the prepared portion to the TV with you. Remember, this is not necessarily mindful eating, but if you're going to do it, then do it with purpose and control, or change up the behavior. Instead of watching your series in the customary chair and place, choose another room, device, or time to watch if you would like to break the snack TV habit. Other questions to ask when cravings strike: did I eat enough protein today? So think back to your last meal. Did it have enough protein? Did it contain enough fat? Sometimes, if we don't get enough good quality fats in our food, we tend not to turn off that appetite switch in our brain. And our brain will keep asking our body to take in more food. Also, we like to use the acronym HALT as a way to reflect on what might be going on in the middle of a craving. So, questions to ask yourself: H, am I hungry? A, am I angry or experiencing some other feeling? Am I lonely or am I simply tired? And then the big question to reflect on when cravings strike: is there something that I need or want that I'm not getting in this moment? So take a second and think about that. And I think question number 4 is just brilliant, because many times we're driven by some unsatisfied emotion or need, and we're doing things not mindfully. So this brings mindfulness to the moment, and hopefully mindfulness to the next choice we make. We talked about gut health in week 3. We learned a bit about keeping our microbiome healthy. It's tied to so many things in the body: mental health, immune health, proper digestion, assimilation of food, and colon health, to name a few. We want to minimize the offenders of our diet that can compromise the microbiome, and be sure to include items from the prebiotic and probiotic rich food list presented here. And it doesn't take a lot. A couple tablespoons of a prebiotic or probiotic food is perfect on a daily basis. A little bit is all it takes. And then, of course, other lifestyle factors come into play here too, like smoking cessation, exercise, and stress reduction. All those things impact our microbiome. So removing the common offenders from the diet, which we all know: the refined grains, sugars, packaged foods, fast foods, minimizing alcohol, and then really focusing on getting some of these great prebiotic and probiotic rich foods like lentils, chickpeas, garlics, onions, artichokes, asparagus, all contain prebiotics. And then probiotic rich foods, which are fermented foods: sauerkraut, pickles, kimchi, yogurt, kefir, kombucha. Probiotics are primarily in the small and large intestine. And so we really need to make sure we have a good, diverse population of bacteria to keep things running properly. And then if you are going to take an over-the-counter probiotic, which we do recommend people take those periodically, maybe not every day, every month for years on end. We like our clients to maybe take a probiotic for a month, take a month off, choose a different brand, take that for a month, unless we are working on something therapeutically. So what we want you to look for, if you're choosing one over the counter, is high colony forming units, or CFUs. So look at the label and get the ones that contain the highest CFUs. And then the second thing to look at is the strain of bacteria in that probiotic. We want the strain to have alpha numeric code after it. That code signifies that this has been properly researched, and these species are going to do what they're supposed to do. So we carry a high number of quality probiotics that you can choose from. So if you're not sure what probiotic to get, if you come to us, we can actually match the type of probiotic you should be taking to your health history. So there's lots of different species of bacteria, and some have actually been researched to support different health conditions. So that's something we can do for you if you choose to purchase a probiotic through Herb and Tonic. Intermittent fasting. We talked about intermittent fasting. The big key thing about intermittent fasting is that it induces something called autophagy in the body. And autophagy is simply the body's way of doing some renovation. It's a mechanism for that. So in autophagy, when it's induced or activated in the body will start looking for old, like you can liken it to, renovating in your house. The body starts looking for old, outdated, worn out parts and replacing them with fresh, new, snazzy parts. There's an elevation of growth hormone, which supports the process. Growth hormone is our anti aging hormone. There's something called mTOR that is elevated when we're constantly eating a high carb diet. So by fasting, we suppress this uh, mTOR, and when we do that, the sprucing up can occur. Um, Now, autophagy is a highly regulated internal process that we wouldn't want to get out of control. Even although it takes place only in a fasting state, we wouldn't want to necessarily fast for days on end. Here, longer isn't necessarily better. Even a calorie restricted diet or dieting in general will not activate autophagy. You have to be fasting. So there is a balance here, of course. You can get sick if you fast too long or too often, or with no fasting at all, or as well as too little. This gets us back into the concept of the natural cycle of life, feast and fast, not constant dieting. This allows for new cell growth during eating and cellular cleansing during fasting. Balance. Life is all about balance. Quick review of intermittent fasting protocols that we recommend. There's a couple different ways to do it. This is probably the easiest way, is to implement a 12 to 16 hour fast. So we recommend that people start with a 12-hour fast. And what that would look like is that you stop eating at 6 p.m. at night. And then you would have your next meal at 6 a.m. in the morning. So that would constitute a 12-hour fast. We ask our clients to do that first. And if that feels okay in their body, then they can choose to do a little longer fast, which the next leap would be 14 hours, breaking the fast the next day at 8 a.m., and then ultimately moving into a 16-hour fast, also known as a 16-8 fast, where you're fasting 16 hours, say theoretically from 6 p.m. until 10 a.m. the next morning, and then you have an 8-hour eating window. Doing this 2 to 3 times per week activates autophagy. It can support or jumpstart weight loss from a plateau. Of course, if at any time during fasting you feel unwell, then you need to stop or break your fast. And individuals with medical conditions on medication should always get approval from their health care provider first. And if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, fasting is definitely not for you. So plateaus, we talked about weight loss plateaus, speaking of intermittent fasting. And maybe you're in a funk when you hit a plateau about what to eat, or perhaps it has more to do with motivation as the season and weather have taken a turn. Although weight loss is not the only focus of a healthy lifestyle program, it can tell us if the right lifestyle changes related to diet are working for you. So the nutrition program that you're on now, the Mediterranean diet, may be very helpful to you, but if you stall out at some point, it might be time for us to dig a little deeper. And that's where we look at people as all individuals. We all have unique genetic makeups, gut microbiomes, which vary from food in the environment, environmental toxins, from personal care products, and water systems, which actually have been shown to impact women more than men. And other variables, hormonal imbalances that can impact everything from weight to mood. So there are a couple things that you can do to get out of a rut, stay motivated, and then look into non-food issues that might be hindering your goals. So one thing, of course, is to add exercise. A lot of times when we start with a weight loss program, it's just enough to focus on making different food choices. But eventually we're ready to add some form of exercise. And so if you find yourself in a plateau, adding exercise might be just the thing that jumpstarts you from that plateau. And it can be something as simple as walking 30 minutes 5 times a week, 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week, or it can be joining a gym and doing participating in gym class offerings. We look at healthy swaps to fight cravings. If we find that we're on a plateau and we don't know what else to eat, then we also want to address inflammation in the body. Inflammation comes from a lot of what I just talked about with toxins and hormonal imbalances. And then if we're not able to clearly, like if we try a few different things, we're not able to move that scale, it might be time to look at additional testing options, which we have here at Urban Tonic. So if we're talking about doing some healthy swaps, say you like baked goods, you have craving for baked goods. Of course, we don't recommend using gluten-containing flours, of course, but we have found a few flours that work rather nicely in baking and are lower in carbohydrates. Tiger nut flour, it's not made from nuts, it's from a plant, and cassava flour. Tiger nut is one of our recent favorites. It seems to bake up very nicely. Almond flour works quite well too. Coconut flour, I'm not as much of a fan of. Most recipes I find with coconut flour, the product ends up pretty dry. But you may find a recipe that works for you or something that blends a couple different types of flours. Choosing avocado oil and coconut oil. There's a number of different no-calorie sweeteners on the market. Stevia, allulose, and monk fruit, all available on Amazon that can be used in baking. Using fruit as a base for something too can be a nice little crutch, offer a nice dessert alternative. For example, frozen grapes, banana slices with coconut powder and then frozen, apple dippers with coconut flakes, frozen cherries warmed and put over yogurt, to name a few. So start thinking about changing out or swapping things that you've currently been eating and see if that helps move you from the plateau. So regarding inflammation, if you experience any of these symptoms, could be related to what you're eating. So you want to always identify what we consider your friendly foods. And that is as simple as listening to your body or potentially doing an elimination diet. There's no reason to have declining health or experience these symptoms, especially as we age. Much of this, we can honestly say, is a byproduct of eating foods that don't work for your unique chemistry. So if you experience a couple of these symptoms or many of these symptoms, that could be a sign that what you're eating is simply not working for your body chemistry. Again, we're all unique and we're all individual. And these symptoms are actually signs of inflammation in the body. So just going back to that for a moment, we do a great job of troubleshooting our clients through symptoms they experience. And again, this is where some certain types of testing can come in handy to really hone in on what is exactly going on in the body, and also maybe looking at food sensitivities and further honing in on what foods work for a person's body chemistry and what foods do not. So talk to us if that's something you're experiencing, and we'd be happy to help you out. So that is a quick review of the 6-week Mediterranean Diet Back to Basics program, and we really, really hope that you have found great value and had many successes doing this program. And actually, we hope that you found it fairly easy to incorporate into your life, especially with the weekly recipe guides We got a lot of good feedback. There were some good recipes in those guides. So please let us know again what you liked. And from here, we think this is an opportune time to talk about what's next and what we feel would be the natural next course of action after finishing a group nutrition program is a detox program. Now that may sound kind of silly right now, especially going into the holidays. We think it's a perfect time to do a detox. And we have a 14-day detox that we've done with many hundreds of clients. It works very well for them. And what we'd like to do is offer up a holiday challenge using this detox program for 14 days. We're going to start it in December and run it for 14 weeks. And we have a special offer for those who have just completed our nutrition program. Part of the detox is going to offer you additional benefits to what you've just been through. The feedback we get from people with our detox is that they have more energy, they sleep better, they digest better, their skin is clearer, just to name a few things. We feel it's a great way to stay in check after Thanksgiving and before Christmas. So giving your body a little break and then staying on track with what you've put so much time into doing this fall. So we're going to put out an email, a special offer to everyone in this group, and we really hope you take us up on it. We've got a great detox program all ready to go online. This is something that will be more or less self-driven, but you will be able to stay on healthy through this period and make use of the healthy resources, as I know many of you have been doing, and you will get our 24/7 email response as you go through the program. So look for that email coming out in the next couple of days. And again, thank you. Thank you for participating in our group nutrition program, and we look forward to seeing you soon.